Hey there, thanks for tuning in for the top 7 rock cuts of the week. Here's a look at the rocks that we'll be checking out. Welcome back to all the current subscribers. I think you're really going to like this video. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you like it as well. All of the rocks were found in northern Nevada, with the exception of one of them, which is from Michigan. And we'll talk a little bit more about that one when we get to it. Let me know your thoughts and favorites down in the comments, and let's go ahead and get to it. All right, so first up is our guest rock. This is a lightning stone, also known as a Septarian nodule. And these are really cool rocks that come from Lake Michigan, and this one was sent to me by a subscriber, so big thank you there. I've never cut one of these, but I looked up how they're supposed to be cut and gave it a shot. These form as balls of clay on the bottom of a lake bed, and they crack, and then later those cracks are filled in with calcite. It doesn't always go all the way through, but when it does, it can look like lightning. So let's go ahead and take a look how this one turned out. And is that not the coolest thing you've ever seen? Look at that. That is so cool. So this has the lightning veins running through it really well. And the background that it's running over is a nice light grayish color. And there's some red veins that are going through it. Some neat patterns on the veins, and they're pretty well filled in for the most part. We'll take a zoom in on this half. Really pretty. A lot of the marks that you see, the kind of lines that are going out around from the center, the small ones, those are from the saw because I had to rotate it around. This one looks really cool too. The veins on this, you can see why they call it a lightning stone. We'll zoom in a little bit closer here. Just gorgeous. And I love the way the background looks too. I've got a couple more of these to cut, so I'm excited to see how the others turn out, but stunning. All right, let's check out this rock. So back to a classic Nevada deep red here, and we can see there's also some nice yellow on this side of the rock. So from the outside, it looked like it was probably Wonderstone, maybe banded Wonderstone, and the colors looked quite bright and vibrant. So I thought I'd take a little slice off it. It was a little bit larger of a rock. I was not sure how well I could cut it down the middle, but let's go ahead and take a look at this, and that's pretty cool. So it is a banded Wonderstone. You call it a candy Wonderstone. We have red and white banding, and it goes into a little bit of pink as well around kind of a large central eye. Wonderstone is one of my favorite materials, of course, feature a bit of it on the channel, and this is a really vibrant one in terms of the color. I bet when it gets a little bit bigger further down the rock, the pattern might change a little bit, and is probably pretty neat. Here's a look at that little end piece that I cut. Love the colors on this one for sure. Okay, let's check out this rock. So from the outside, you can see that it is a crystal or agate material. It looks like there may be an inclusion on the part that I just circled there, and we'll see how that carries through into the interior or not. And there's some interesting formation of the crystal here on the backside, and it goes to almost a black color, which is interesting. So let's go ahead and take a look at the inside of this one. And I cut this in several places. That is really cool. So that inclusion, we can see a little bit better on this cut. There's a pinkish core almost, and then a white circle or nodule that's around it. Really interesting. Not sure what that is, but it looks like what we saw on the outside, and you can see that it carries through in a slightly different way on this cut, which is a little further down the rock. But it's really pretty, and the material is quite interesting, regardless of what the inclusion is, or if it's an inclusion or just some sort of banding. And here's the last cut from one of the end pieces, and we can still see a little bit of that white material there, and there's also some dark colors and stuff going on at the bottom of the rock, but a really interesting agate material here. Okay, let's check out this rock. So from the outside, again, this looks like it's going to be a banded Wonderstone. And unlike the other rock, the color isn't quite as shiny, but it looks like there's a lot more going on There's a lot more banding that we can see and more variation in the color from the red and the pink to the white, with maybe a little bit of yellow here on this side as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that translates to the inside of the rock. And that is pretty cool. So there's nice banding going on the top, maybe quarter of the rock, the triangle shaped part. There's some nice banding going on in there that we can see with the red and the white. And then that fades into a gray, which is most of the rock. And then there's a swirled tannish black material that is in the center as well. With a little bit closer look, we can see that some of that banding actually continues around further down than just the triangle part, and also is on the bottom part of the rock. And on this half, it even makes it in towards the center. So kind of interesting there. But this is also a Wonderstone with something else going on in the middle there, but a banded Wonderstone and an interesting example. Okay, let's check out this rock. So from the outside, this one looks a bit weathered and beaten. It's mostly a light color, white with some tannish browns in there as well. This white material here looked like it might be crystal, so I thought that would be kind of interesting, possibly. And just the overall shape of this rock and how it wore down looked a little bit different than what I usually find. So that's what led me to pick it up. And let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. And that is really cool. So we have a blackish gray that goes over a good part of the rock. And underneath that, we have a nice white material. And it looks like it's been fractured and possibly healed. There's some red in the veins, as we can see taking a little bit of a closer look here. And there's a little more going on in the dark areas too. And we can see there's another area of light on the bottom. This is probably a jasper that's undergone some volcanic alteration, and it's pretty cool. It's not totally filled in. You can see around some of those partial eyes forming in the center there that those cracks are not filled in all the way. A really pretty one, and where it is solid, I think it'll polish up pretty nicely. Okay, let's check out this rock. So from the outside, this one looks a little bit different. It's mostly a light color, a white with a bit of gray on it. And on this side, we can see that there's what looks like a bit of banding. It also looks like there's maybe some breccia, but not totally sure. So let's go ahead and take a look at the inside of this guy. And that is pretty cool. So we do see a lot of the banding that carries through in both kind of broad and also finer. So there's larger areas of a whitish gray and then a much darker gray, and then it kind of alternates back to the light. It almost reminds me of an organic material possibly, but it also looks like an agatized siltstone or mudstone. So I'm not totally sure, but we'll take a zoom in here and get a bit of a closer look at these individual halves. And on this one, you can see a little bit better that brown streak in the middle, but really cool and really unique. Okay, let's check out this rock. So from the top there, it looks almost like that might be flow banding, and it's a bit of a lighter color, almost greenish white, and then some actual white, and there's a little bit of red that's on the outside too. It's kind of a unique shape. Looks almost like a bone. I don't think that's what it is, but it does look a little bit like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the inside of this one. And that is really pretty. Wow. So this is a brecciated material as well. And it's sectioned into three main areas with a lighter triangle or pyramid area in the middle. And we'll zoom in a little bit here so that we can see the patterns going on in these different areas. But there's a lot of fine banding going on and a decent mix of colors in both the darker and the lighter spaces, more than what was apparent from just looking at it initially. And here we can see some of those lighter colors coming through a bit better on this half. Really pretty. And it looks like those fractures have been filled in with a white crystal, which is pretty cool also. All right, thanks for tuning in. That's it for the rocks for this week. Here's a preview of the ones we'll be checking out next week. Thanks again to all the current subscribers. Please give this video a like and let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you're new to the channel and you made it this far, please consider subscribing to the channel so you can see more cool videos like this one. And I will see you all next week.